Are you burnt out on feeling constrained by your feelings? Do you at any point wish you could simply remain composed, cool, and gathered regardless of what life tosses your direction on the off chance that you addressed yes? Then at that point, you're in good company. We as a whole wrestle with overpowering feelings occasionally anyway. Consider the possibility that there was a technique to state authority over your feelings as opposed to allowing them to direct your reactions. That is where emotionlessness comes in. Emotionlessness is an old way of thinking that teaches you how to carry on with an upright and cheerful life, even despite difficulty, and one of the center principles of emotionlessness is personal control. In this video, I will share 13 unemotional examples that will assist you with controlling your feelings and carry on with a more serene, satisfying life. Recall that you're not exploring this excursion alone. I am here to help you, and the broad and steady emotionless local area is prepared to draw in, buy in, join the remarks, and offer your encounters with other people who are likewise looking for profound control and a really satisfying life. Is it true that you are prepared to figure out how to get a handle on your feelings? We should go to illustration number 1, the eyewitness inside. Imagine yourself on a boat's deck, influenced by the wild floods of a close-to-home attitude to direct in the vessel to calmly. One must at first fathom the embodiment of the profound ocean being navigated. This comprises the center idea of the spectator inside the debut example in our investigation of profound dominance. The Roman scholar highlighted reflection as the linchpin of this understanding. His renowned words, "The central undertaking in life is just this, to distinguish and isolate matters so I can express plainly to myself which are outside, not relying upon me, and which have to do with the decision vows I control," encourage us to become onlookers of our feelings. This involves moving away from the prompt insight to procure a more extensive perspective. Envision yourself not as the tempest, but rather as an enduring beacon in the midst of the problem. Practices, for example, care enveloping contemplation and journaling, go about as you're directing light, uncovering the broad territory of your feelings. Through these activities, you begin perceiving the actual sensations connected to different feelings, the tightening of your chest out of resentment and the shuddering of your stomach in fervor. You likewise become mindful of the considerations that arise. Self-analysis, cultivating disgrace, a hopeful expectation pushing bliss. Critically, this perception isn't really for judgment, however, for appreciation. By only noticing feelings fairly, you disconnect yourself from their nearby impact. They are seen as brief events like mists floating across the immense scope of your reality. This separation enables you to go with conscious decisions accordingly, instead of being moved by the profound errant. The essential illustration from the spectator inside highlights that to control feelings, one must at first remember them. Through careful perception, you gain the important capacity to separate between outer tempests and the decisions inside your control. This mindfulness shapes the basis for creating abilities to explore profound waters with expanded poise and flexibility. Remember that embracing the job of an eyewitness is a continuous excursion, not a proper objective. Practice persistence with yourself and praise each step towards elevated mindfulness. As you support this interior eyewitness, you open the necessary resources to explore your feelings with freshly discovered opportunity and purpose. Illustration number 2, marking your sentiments. Imagine feelings as a broad library lodging heap books, each portraying an unmistakable story. The ordinarily utilized terms blissful and miserable look like very much worn soft cover books on the rack. Effectively open yet offering restricted profundity to get a handle on the intricacies of your profound domain. Genuinely, it is vital for move past these conventional names, investigate the nuanced range inside epicus. The regarded apathetic scholar highlighted this idea, attesting that not occasions upset us yet, our perspectives about them. This understanding suggests that the essence of dealing with feelings lies not in the actual occasions, but rather by the way we decipher and order them. While a fog advancement could provoke a first impression of misery, a more profound investigation reveals an embroidery of feelings: disillusionment from botched open doors, dissatisfaction with difficulties, or even a touch of outrage at outside factors. Consider the intensity of a greater close-to-home jargon, instead of essentially sorting yourself as miserable. You might recognize subtleties like disillusionment, dissatisfaction, and maybe even a hint of help. This nuanced understanding empowers you to tailor your reactions all the more really, as opposed to waiting in conventional bitterness. You can address the particular feelings in play by looking for help for frustration, diverting frustration into useful activity, or recognizing the help from getting away from an unacceptable circumstance. Picture this marking system as much the same as distinguishing colors in a composition. With a couple of fundamental tones, you get a dubious impression. However, by pinpointing explicit shades like cerulean blue, consumed umber, or cadmium yellow, you make a distinctive and nuanced picture. A similar standard applies to your shans. The more exact your marks, the more profound your perception, and the more proficient you become at dealing with your close-to-home responses. Critically, naming isn't a type of judgment. It carries lucidity and attention to your internal world, similar as a botanist distinguishing vir blossom species. You are just recognizing the particular profound scene inside you. This mindfulness engages you to explore this scene with expanded expertise and aim, cultivating a significant association with yourself and your feelings. The following time you experience an inclination, oppose making do with a conventional mark, and on second thought dive into the complexities, uncovering the strength of a more refined, profound jargon. This training is the doorway to a significant self-understanding and the capacity to make more proficient reactions to the consistently moving flows of your profound excursion. Example number 3. Tolerating all feelings. Envision yourself remaining on the shore, noticing the sea waves run into the stones, some delicate and fun-loving, others strong and impressive. Yet you wouldn't endeavor to modify their temperament. All things considered, you acknowledge them as they are in basically the same manner inside the extensive expanse of your feelings you'll experience. Quiet tides of euphoria and happiness, as well as strong floods of outrage, dread, or misery. Illustration 3. Tolerating all feelings urges us to move toward these profound waves with equivalent regard and understanding. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman ruler and unemotional savant, gives a strong example with his words, "Burn through no additional time quarreling over what a decent man ought to be." This statement prompts a shift from examining our feelings to just recognizing and tolerating them instead of opposing or stifling awkward sentiments. The accentuation is on perceiving their presence without judgment or mythical being judgment. Think about tolerating your feelings, similar to tolerating the climate, similarly as you wouldn't contend with a blustery day endeavoring to drive daylight. You adjust with an umbrella or downpour gear. Similarly, tolerating an inclination doesn't suggest approving or relating to it. It implies recognizing its presence, grasping its message, and deliberately picking how to answer. It's fundamental to perceive that even the most difficult feelings fill a need. Outrage could flag a limit infringement, dread could caution a possible risk, and bitterness could show the requirement for taking care of oneself. Tolerating these feelings as couriers gives important experiences into our necessities and values. Envision a locked box containing a crucial directive for your prosperity. Passing judgment on the crate will not open it. Essentially, making a decision about your feelings frustrates you from getting to their important messages. Acknowledgement turns into the way to opening the container and permitting you to comprehend what exists in. Notwithstanding, tolerating feelings doesn't compare to inactively allowing them to control you. It includes making space for their experience while intentionally picking your reaction. You might have to communicate your displeasure decisively, address the hidden trepidation-making tension, or allow yourself completely lament during snapshots of bitterness by tolerating the inclination. At first, you gain lucidity and space to select a sound and helpful reaction. Keep in mind, tolerating all feelings is a continuous excursion, not a decent objective. There will be days when judgment creeps in, and that is satisfactory. Show restraint toward yourself, practice self-empathy, and reliably return to acknowledgement as your core value. As you embrace the total range of your close-to-home insight, you open a significant comprehension of yourself, develop flexibility, and explore life's waves with expanded beauty and intelligence. Hence, when confronted with a difficult inclination, review Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Try not to sit around idly contending. Just acknowledge the wave and fathom its message and decide to answer with mindfulness and sympathy, both for you and for the huge and multifaceted expanse of feelings inside you. Illustration number 4. Understanding the triggers. Envision walking around a woodland loaded down with concealed wires, each equipped for impelling you into a tornado of extraordinary feelings. This illustration suitably catches our profound scene where secret triggers lie on pause, prepared to release an outpouring of responses. Illustration 4. Understanding the triggers gives the imperative ability of recognizing these tripwires, engaging us to navigate our profound landscape with increased mindfulness and control. Seneca, the Roman scholar and guide, gave significant knowledge into this interaction. We are more frequently scared than hurt, and we experience the ill effects of creative mind than from the real world. This statement highlights the impact of misperception in setting off our feelings. Frequently, not the actual circumstance, but rather our translation lights the profound out-of-control fire. Subsequently, the underlying move toward incapacitating these concealed wires includes self-reflection. Give close consideration to circumstances, individuals, or explicit words reliably summoning extraordinary feelings. The journaling post such experiences ends up being a strong device helping with design acknowledgement and topic distinguishing proof. Ask yourself what unfolded and how I felt at that point. What considerations consumed my brain? Has this happened previously? What may be setting off this response? By examining into these inquiries, you begin to plan the close-to-home minefield whenever triggers are distinguished. The power dynamic movements from inactive casualty to proactive spectator. This freshly discovered mindfulness enables you to plan better reactions. Envision experiencing a natural trigger as opposed to surrendering to a prompt, profound flood. You stop, reviewing experiences acquired from self-reflection. You perceive the trigger and expect likely responses. Outfitted with mindfulness, decisions unfurl, and you can select to challenge your contemplations. Are your translations precise and supportive? De-escalate, take a full breath, practice care, or eliminate yourself from the circumstance. Set up a better reaction. Express feelings emphatically. Put down stopping points, or participate in self-relieving exercises. Understanding triggers isn't tied in with killing them altogether. Life definitely presents difficulties. The core lies in progressing from oblivious response to cognizant reaction. By pinpointing triggers, you get the instruments to explore them with elevated mindfulness, strength, and the capacity to appreciate people on a profound level. Request time and tolerance. Be delicate with yourself as you cross the close-to-home scene inside and celebrate progress, paying little mind to measure as you gain a more profound comprehension of triggers. You open block the capacity to pick reactions, changing from a latent onlooker to a talented guide of your close-to-home landscape. Leave on this investigation with interest and a receptive outlook. Recall the guide to quiet your feelings. Waters isn't found in staying away from triggers, however, in understanding them and utilizing that information to graph a course towards a really satisfying and enabled IFI. Example number 5. Testing pointless convictions. Envision yourself remaining before a broad close-to-home landscape where tempests emerge startlingly, determined by covered powers underneath the surface. These inconspicuous powers address your prohibitive convictions and profoundly imbued thoughts regarding yourself and the world, impacting how you decipher and respond to circumstances. Illustration 5. Standing up to pointless convictions gives you the necessary resources to recognize and change these restricting convictions, empowering you to face personal disturbances with improved clearness and control. Epicus, the powerful emotionless thinker, introduced a strong device. It isn't so much that things happen to me, yet that I respond to them with a particular goal in mind. This statement highlights the essential job of discernment in molding our feelings. The setting off occasion itself doesn't cause the tempest. Rather, it is our convictions about it. For instance, the conviction that I'm not sufficient can escalate self-analysis and disgrace even because of a minor mishap. So how might we reveal these unlikely treasures in our psychological scene? The underlying step is developing mindfulness, Expect the job of a criminal investigator for your own feelings. At the point when a profound tempest wounds, investigate the inward exchanges. What accounts would you say you are building? Is it true that you are classifying yourself as bumbling, disgraceful, or abhorrent? These repetitive subjects frequently show basic restricting convictions. Whenever you've distinguished these likely offenders, don't feel overpowered. Keep in mind, they are convictions, not outright bits of insight. You can scrutinize their legitimacy and utility. Is it true or not that they depend on previous encounters that may not precisely address the present? Might it be said that they are speculations gotten from separated occurrences? Could it be said that they are filled by an inward pundit whose point of view may be twisted? This scrutinizing system requests sympathy and rationale. Act requests such like, what proof backings this conviction? Are there elective clarifications for the circumstance? What are the outcomes of holding this conviction? Does it engage you or obstruct you? How might I feel on the off chance that I embraced an alternate conviction about myself or the circumstance? It's significant to perceive that difficult, restricting convictions isn't about quickly accomplishing energy. It's an excursion of self-investigation and disclosure. Show restraint toward yourself and recognize even the littlest changes in context. As you re-examine your psychological system, you'll notice a huge change. Envision experiencing the very circumstance that recently set off a tempest. Nonetheless, this time you recognize the restricting conviction underneath the surface and defy it with reason and sympathy, supplanting it with a seriously engaging conviction, for example, that I am able and open to gaining from this experience. With this changed viewpoint, the profound tempest loses its force, and you feel enabled to answer valuably instead of capitulating to cynicism. Keep in mind, facing pointless convictions is a continuous cycle. May restore natural examples. Nonetheless, with every showdown, you gain strength and flexibility. You become the planner of your own story, freed from restricting convictions. As Epicus exhorts, you figure out how to answer occasions in a way that serves you by developing more quiet, profound oceans and exploring life's difficulties with expanded shrewdness and self-empathy. The way to gently lies not in avoiding storms, but rather in figuring out how to waltz with them, furnished with mindfulness and apparatuses to explore them effortlessly, cultivating inward harmony. Example number 6, rethinking your viewpoint. Envision yourself at the Maina Mountain, looking over the broad scene before you. A similar view can take on incomprehensibly various tints in light of the climate on a sunny morning. Revel in the sun's glow, wondering about the all-encompassing perspectives, yet under turbulent clouds. The indistinguishable scene feels forlorn, and along these lines, our feelings are shaped by our receptions. Illustration 6. Moving your viewpoint gives you the capacity to change your psychological focal point, transforming inner difficulties into amazing open doors for self-awareness and strength. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman sovereign and indifferent scholar, conferred significant insight. All that we get is a point of view, not a reality, and all that we see is an understanding, not reality. This statement fills in as an update that the world misses the mark on inborn profound charge. Our understandings instill occasions with antagonism, disappointment, or happiness. So how might we adjust our viewpoint and effortlessly explore personal difficulties? The underlying step is developing mindfulness. Focus on your programmed considerations and translations during genuinely charged circumstances. Might it be said that you are ordering an error as a disappointment as opposed to a growth opportunity? Is it true that you are seeing somebody's quiet as dismissal rather than impartiality? Perceiving these instilled designs is essential for reevaluating. Once you distinguish your translations, question them with reason and interest. Ask yourself, is this translation accommodating and serving me? Are there elective ways of survey what is happening? What proof backings this translation? And what proof could go against it? Keep in mind, reevaluating isn't tied in with dismissing reality or limiting difficulties. It's tied in with finding a really engaging point of view that empowers valuable reactions. Consider getting negative input working as opposed to deciphering it as I'm not adequate. Re-examine it as this criticism gives a chance to get to the next level. This shift engages you to look for direction and development. Changing the apparent misfortune into a venturing stone for progress, consider rethinking as changing the focal point of your psychological camera. By modifying your point of view, you can bring various features of the circumstance into sharp help and uncover stowed-away open doors. Recognize neglected qualities or track down humor where dissatisfaction once won. As your rethinking abilities create, you'll observe a significant transformation. Imagine experiencing what is happening that recently set off antagonism. This time, nonetheless, you deliberately apply re-examining to distinguish your underlying translation, challenge its accommodation, and investigate elective points of view. With a change in discernment, the profound power reduces. You feel engaged to move toward the circumstance with self-control. Clearness and a feeling of probability. Remember, rethinking is a continuous practice. There will be days when old examples re-emerge, yet with each intentional exertion, you improve your capacity to pick your viewpoint like a gifted photographic artist. You figure out how to catch the excellence and possible in each scene, changing your profound scene into a material of strength, development, and recently discovered opportunity. Leave on this excursion of self-revelation with a receptive outlook and an inquisitive heart. Keep in mind, the way to profound authority lies not in controlling outside occasions, but rather in dominating your interior understandings, as Marcus Aurelius proposes. Figure out how to see past the mists and find the brilliant sun that sparkles inside you. Illustration number 7. The force of interruption. Envision yourself remaining on the incline of a bluff, the breeze disheveling your hair and adrenaline flooding through your veins, yet before you jump, an unpretentious voice murmurs, "Stand by." This epitomizes the quintessence of the force of respite. A fundamental illustration and profound authority underscored by Seneca, the Roman savant and guide. Advised that we ought not be shocked that the vast majority act prior to contemplating what they ought to do. Without giving it much thought, feelings can carry on like strong flows. Convincing hasty responses. Example 7. The specialty of respite furnishes you with the capacity to make a whole among improvement and reaction, enabling you to settle on conscious decisions with intelligence and goal. Consider the interruption a psychological delivery valve. When confronted with a difficult circumstance or a flood of feeling, the normal tendency is to respond right away, which frequently brings about lamentable words, rushed choices, and activities driven by feelings as opposed to reason. The respite nonetheless presents a critical space between the trigger and your reaction. It empowers you to step back, notice, and intentionally pick how to continue. Seneca gave different devices to develop this interruption. Take a full breath, breathe in profoundly, and feel the air fill your lungs. Breathe out leisurely, delivering pressure and quieting your psyche. Rehash until you feel focused and grounded in careful counting. Center around counting gradually, either quietly or resoundingly. This basic demonstration redirects your brain from the quick inclination, focusing on the current second. Venturing ceaselessly, genuinely. Limit any association with the circumstance if conceivable. Go for a stroll, have a glass of water, or step into another room. This makes actual space, reflecting the profound distance you look for. Keep in mind, the respite isn't tied in with stifling your feelings. It's tied in with recognizing them without judgment and making space for cognizance. Inside this space, you can distinguish the inclination. What are you feeling? Is it outrage, dread, trouble, or something different? Naming the inclination helps to comprehend its source and potential effect. Inspecting the trigger. What set off this inclination? Is it an individual, a circumstance, or a particular idea? Understanding the trigger gives significant setting. Think about your choices. What decisions do you have in this present circumstance? What are the possible outcomes of every choice? Assess your choices with reason and empathy. With training, the interruption develops. Past a simple strategy, it turns into a propensity when you figure out how to make space among improvement and reaction instinctually. Considering intentional and estimated responses, envision confronting what is going on that once incited an indiscreet explosion. This time you stop, take a full breath, count quietly, and step away if necessary. Here, you distinguish the outrage, grasp the trigger, and think about your choices. You decide to communicate your interests confidently, staying away from destructive words or activities. Dominating the delay is a continuous excursion, not a last objective. There will be occasions when you return to old examples, however, with each purposeful interruption. You upgrade your mindfulness and the capacity to appreciate people on a deeper level and become the planner of your reactions. As of now, not obliged to transitory feelings, as Seneca advocates, you figure out how to think before you act, changing the interruption into a strong device for exploring life's difficulties. Elegance, intelligence, and profound control. Illustration number 8. Communicating feelings soundly. Envision a choice container overflowing with exuberant blossoms. Picture those blossoms trapped inside their shades, blurring their pith. This similarity precisely depicts the repercussions of smothering our feelings. Example 8. Solid articulation of feelings urges us to free the close-to-home container, permitting the healthy arrival of feelings to cultivate our prosperity and self-awareness. While the unemotional rationalist Epicus deterred harping on gloomy feelings, his message didn't advocate for concealment, yet rather underscored choosing productive and invigorating roads for articulation. Restricting feelings might bring about an inconvenient collection appearing as pressure, uneasiness, or even actual illnesses. Alternately, helpful articulation grants us to handle feelings, accomplish clearness, and advance with expanded versatility. So how might we open up the close-to-home jug and express our feelings usefully? Here are a few important methodologies. Look for a strong ear. Discuss your thoughts transparently with a confided-in companion, relative, specialist, or guide. Doing as such in a safe and steady climate can improve your feelings, give different points of view, and mitigate profound weights. Embrace innovative articulation. Compose, paint, dance, sing, or participate in any imaginative outlet that impacts you. Directing feelings into imaginative articulation works with a more profound comprehension and empowers the arrival of repressed sentiments in a solid way. Take part in active work. Actual activity fills in as a strong device for close-to-home delivery, whether through running, moving, or straightforward extending and profound relaxing. Development disseminates energy. Hoist state of mind and upgrade, generally speaking, prosperity. Keep in mind, solid articulation isn't exclusively verbal. Recognizing feelings through journaling, reflection, or interfacing with nature can be significantly helpful. The key is finding outlets that suit you and empowering feelings to usefully stream. Extra tips for solid articulation incorporate rehearsing non-judgmental self-sympathy and recognizing and tolerating your feelings without self-analysis. Use I explanations. Convey feelings without accusing others by outlining explanations with "I feel" rather than "you" causes me to lay out limits. On the off chance that communicating feelings becomes overpowering, defining limits is okay. Carve out margin for yourself or impart a requirement for space. Dominating sound articulation is a non-stop excursion, not a decent objective. Anticipate intermittent misfortunes, blemished articulations, or slips into undesirable examples. Show restraint, celebrate progress, and investigate a sorted source for articulation. As you develop this expertise, you'll acquire a significant comprehension of yourself, fortify connections, and explore life's difficulties with upgraded capacity to understand people on a profound level and versatility. Illustration number 9. The sorcery of appreciation. Envision remaining on a breeze-whipped bluff, waves running into rocks, and foreboding shadows darkening the sun. This reminiscent scene mirrors life storms, snapshots of misfortune, disillusionment, or impressive difficulties. Yet in the midst of these whirlwinds, a beacon stands tall, its bar penetrating the dimness, giving expectation and guance. Illustration 9. Bridling appreciation is charm. This beacon epitomizes the groundbreaking force of appreciation. Enlightening our close-to-home scene and cultivating strength in misfortune, the Roman sovereign and unemotional savant Marcus Aurelius articulately caught the substance of appreciation. Harp on the magnificence of life, watch the stars, and run with the breeze. His words encourage us to move, center from storm mists to getting through magnificence during challenges. Appreciation isn't tied in with disregarding hardships. It's tied in with recognizing them while deciding to focus on the favors, both huge and little, that improve our lives. How does this sorcery of appreciation function? The response lies in its significant effect on our profound prosperity and versatility while confronting difficulties. Here are the critical advantages of movements. Centered appreciation diverts consideration from shortage to overflow, altogether impacting profound states. Encouraging satisfaction and lessening pessimism helps strength. Valuing the positive parts of our lives develops inward fortitude in the midst of trouble. Drawing upon this wellspring helps us to remember past victories and getting through gifts. In the present, appreciation prompts certified enthusiasm for the present, enjoying little delights and inconspicuous moments. This careful mindfulness encourages harmony in the midst of life's steadily changing flows. How might we develop this groundbreaking practice? Here are a few common sense tips. Begin an appreciation diary. Require a couple of moments day to day to write down 3 to 5 things you're thankful for, developing a more profound value increase over the long haul. Care interruption carefully over the course of the day to see the value in your environmental elements. Sensations or minutes. These little demonstrations of careful appreciation sustain prosperity. Offer thanks consistently and share appreciation verbally or through notes. Saying thanks to others builds up appreciation's positive effect and fortifies connections. Developing appreciation isn't tied in with constraining energy, however, recognizing reality while deciding to zero in on the upside. It's a training, not an objective, requiring predictable exertion. Show restraint, praise progress, and witness appreciation's charm unfurl in your life as you support this training. Find recently discovered flexibility, a more profound appreciation for life's gifts, and a directing light through even the haziest close-to-home tempests. Illustration. Number 10. Self-empathy is the key picture. Remaining before a superb nursery, its lively blossoms are detonating in an uproar of variety. Yet in the midst of this excellence, you notice a shrinking rose, its petals hanging, attempting to flourish. This rose represents our own selves, equipped for prospering with self-empathy, however helpless against shrinking under the unforgiving breezes of self-analysis. The pith of self-empathy furnishes you with instruments to sustain the fruitful ground of self-sympathy, empowering your profound prosperity to bloom even in the midst of life's difficulties. The Roman savant and counselor Seneca shared a significant knowledge. The best solution for outrage is delay. He advises us that responding immediately with self-analysis frequently energizes cynicism and impedes us development. Interestingly, self-sympathy offers a gentler, really supporting methodology, encouraging us to expand the very generosity and understanding to ourselves that we promptly deal to other people. Be that as it may, for what reason is self-empathy so urgent for profound prosperity? Here are a portion of its key advantages. Lessens pressure and nervousness. Rehearsed self-sympathy stops unforgiving self-judgment, prompting lower pressure and nervousness levels. This internal harmony enables us to explore difficulties with lucidity and serenity, supports confidence, and embraces flaws and mix-ups as a feature of the human experience, fabricating a groundwork of self-esteem and certainty. This solid confidence energizes risk-taking, gaining from difficulties, and embracing our bona fide selves, which rouses change. Self-empathy doesn't support unfortunate ways of behaving, yet makes a place of refuge for self-reflection and development. Instead of feeling disgrace or fault, we approach our inadequacies with grasping, encouraging a craving to learn and get to the next level. How would we develop this ripe ground of self-empathy inside ourselves? Here are a few down-to-earth ways to rehearse. Careful mindfulness. Recognize your inward pundit without judgment and answer with generosity and understanding. Excuse yourself. Everybody has their faults. Excuse yourself. Center around learning. Clutching culpability hinders profound development. Indulge yourself with consideration and broaden a similar consolation and backing to yourself as you would to a dear companion. Praise triumphs and proposition solace during difficulties. Take part in agreeable exercises. Focus on exercises that give pleasure and unwinding. Supporting both physical and profound prosperity, and developing self-empathy is an excursion, not an objective. There will be days when self-analysis creeps in, and that is not a problem. Show restraint, commend progress, and support the nursery of self-empathy inside, as Seneca recommends. Defers the desire for self-analysis and picks rather the delicate hint of understanding with predictable practice. Observe the energetic sprout of close-to-home prosperity, flexibility, and self-acknowledgement unfurling in your life. Example number 11. Looking for help, envision yourself cruising across an immense sea, feeling the breeze in your hair and the sun glistening off the waves. Nonetheless, in the midst of this magnificence, a tempest looms, with foreboding shadows taking steps to upset. Right now, do you endeavor to persevere through the tempest alone, or do you go to the help of prepared mariners close by? Example 11. Named looking for help, advocates for the last option, underlining that exploring close-to-home tempests is rarely best finished in seclusion. Like the opinion communicated by Seneca, the Roman scholar who expressed, "We are all individual voyagers on an excursion towards death." Life's close-to-home territory is preferred explored with strong partners over with isolation. While psychological well-being battles might feel profoundly private, they need not be brought into the world in isolation. Looking for proficient assistance is certainly not an indication of shortcoming. All things being equal, it is a brave affirmation of mindfulness and a savvy interest in one's prosperity. Similarly, as counseling a specialist for actual illnesses is viewed as fundamental. Looking for proficient help for inner difficulties is similarly pivotal, so how could treatment to help you on your excursion? Here are a few key benefits. Master direction specialists, as prepared experts, have an abundance of information and instruments to assist you with grasping your feelings, perceive undesirable examples, and foster survival strategies. They act as guides, enlightening a way towards profound prosperity. In a place of refuge for investigation, treatment offers a classified and non-critical climate where you can transparently investigate your contemplations, sentiments, and encounters unafraid of analysis. This steady space energizes self-reflection and development. Custom-fitted help, recognizing individual uniqueness, treatment works with you to make a customized approach tending to your particular necessities and conditions. This guarantees the best help customized to your strengthening and abilities. Treatment goes past discussion, giving reasonable instruments and abilities to deal with feelings. Explore difficulties and assemble strength. The result is a feeling of strengthening to deal with future tempests with expanded certainty and self-sympathy. Keep in mind, looking for help is a continuous excursion that might change in view of your necessities. There is no disgrace in looking for help during testing times or wanting persistent help for self-awareness as it will be an extra tip. Ways to look for help incorporate exploration. Distinguish a specialist whose capabilities and approach line up with your necessities. Look for proposals from your primary care physician, companions, or family. Pose inquiries, ask about the advisor's insight, approach, and any worries you might have. Feeling great and sure about your choices is urgent. Show restraint, treatment is a continuous interaction that expects time to get results. Tolerance with yourself and confidence in the process are vital. Celebrate progress, perceive and celebrate positive changes, regardless of how little en route. Fundamentally, embracing support isn't exclusively about defeating difficulties. It is an interest in profound prosperity. Making ready for a more promising time to come, as Seneca proposes. By looking for help, we permit others to stroll close by us, sharing the heap and directing us towards profound completeness. A daily existence set apart by more noteworthy harmony and self-acknowledgement. Illustration number 12. Celebrate little triumphs. Envision rising a magnificent mountain with the breeze racing through your hair and your muscles pounding with effort after arriving at a level. Rather than delighting in the stunning landscape, you reprimand yourself for not rising higher, unfortunately. This mirrors how we frequently approach our feelings. On our excursions, we focus on the highest point, dismissing the significant advancement we've proactively accomplished. Example 12. Recognize minor accomplishments. Urges you to change your viewpoint, underlining that each forward-moving step, regardless of how little, comprises a triumph meriting praise as an unemotional thinker. Epicus declared that man isn't upset by occasions yet by the perspectives he takes of them. Perceiving and commending your advancement improves inspiration and establishes the groundwork for progressing profound turn of events. For what reason is it vital to celebrate? Minor triumphs. Here are a few key advantages that help inspiration. Recognizing progress, no matter what its size, supports a feeling of achievement, no doubt inspiring you to continue on your excursion. It energizes the inward drive that moves you forward in any event when confronted with difficulties. Self-sympathy, recognizing your endeavors, cultivating self-empathy and understanding, urges you to esteem the difficult work you contribute, free of the result, encouraging a reason for solid confidence shifts. Perspective, cheering minor triumphs helps rethink your view of progress. Your process is viewed as a progression of steps, each adding to generally development, and close to home dominance develops appreciation. Perceiving progress normally supports appreciation for your endeavors and positive changes. This appreciation makes way for additional development and builds up an inspirational perspective. How might you coordinate this training into your day-to-day routine? Think about these viable tips. Keep tabs on your development. Keep a diary or use an advancement tracker to report both major and minor successes. Thinking about your process can be profoundly spurring and uncover examples of positive change. Celebrate freely and secretly by imparting your accomplishments to steady friends and family. Yet in addition, pause for a minute to recognize your internal strength and versatility secretly. Reward yourself and lay out little compensations for arriving at achievements, for cultivating serious areas of strength, for and among exertion and positive results. Spotlight on the cycle and try not to focus exclusively on the ultimate objective. Revel in the actual process and value the little triumphs. Snapshots of self-revelation and difficulty survive. Recall celebrating minor triumphs isn't about pomposity. It's tied in with perceiving the worth of your excursion and the strength of its cons. Reliable exertion. By embracing this training, you'll support inspiration, flexibility and self-esteem, enabling you to overcome even the most overwhelming profound ascensions. Illustration number 13. Keep in mind, it's an excursion picture, setting out on a sweeping experience not with a foreordained objective, but rather through a powerful scene overflowing with winding ways, disguised treasures, and unanticipated difficulties. This fills in as a fitting similarity for our profound excursion, a continuous investigation energized by self-disclosure, development, and versatility. Illustration. Embrace the unfurling way stresses that close-to-home dominance is certainly not a last objective, yet a continuous course of learning and development. Repeating the expressions of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman head and emotionless thinker, life is a progression of little drives, similar to a grappler returning toward the finish of each and every fall. The significant assertion urges us to embrace the ups and downs, triumphs and mishaps, perceiving that certifiable development happens en route. Why are individuals embracing this excursion? Attitude is essential for close-to-home prosperity. Here are a few key advantages. Diminishes pressure. Survey profound dominance as an objective makes way for dissatisfaction and disappointment. The excursion approach permits space for mishaps and flaws, supporting tolerance and self-sympathy during the interaction advances non-stop learning. Embracing the excursion opens us to never-ending learning and development. Each experience, positive or negative, turns into a potential chance to acquire bits of knowledge and foster new abilities. Improving our ability to understand anyone on a deeper level lifts versatility. The excursion attitude invigorates our capacity to bounce back from difficulties. Mishaps are viewed as brief obstacles, not long-lasting obstructions. Encouraging versatility and the assurance to continue to advance develops acknowledgement. Tolerating life as an excursion with its unavoidable high points and low points empowers us to be more present and discover a sense of reconciliation in the midst of the rhythmic movement of feelings. We figure out how to acknowledge ourselves, our imperfections, and all on this steadily developing way. How might we impart this excursion attitude in our regular routines? Think about these pragmatic tips. Commend each step. Recognize and praise your advancement, independent of its size. Each forward-moving step and every example learned adds to your buy and large profound development and benefits. Appreciation. Embrace flaws, perceive that mishaps and defects are unavoidable. View them as any open doors for learning, not disappointments, and influence them to fuel your continuous turn of events. Center around the cycle. Relish the excursion of self-revelation as opposed to focusing on a last objective. Value the current second, the difficulties conquered, and the bits of knowledge acquired en route. Practice self-empathy and stretch out consideration to yourself, similar to how you would uphold a companion on their excursion. Give yourself consolation, understanding, and backing during the ups and downs. Keep in mind, the way to profound dominance is definitely not a straight one. It's a twisting path with turns, and startling diversions. Embrace the experience. Praise your advancement and gather intelligence from each experience, as Marcus Aurelius prompts. Ascend after each fall, gain from each test, and perceive that the genuine wizardry lies in the unfurling of your particular and always advancing feelings. Venture feelings similar to sea tides use critical impact. By incorporating these apathetic standards, we can figure out how to explore their flows with uplifted mindfulness. Acknowledgement and deliberate decision. Remember that close-to-home dominance isn't tied in with stifling feelings yet, rather about encouraging a better, really improving relationship with them. So set out on this excursion of self-revelation, permitting the insight of the Stoics to enlighten your way. Thank you so much for watching Stoic Energy.